which makes no damn sense to me.
Yeah, but, anyway. Who's next, Moni?
Up next is D-Rock. Pulling him in now.
All right. D-Rock, how you doing?
1 second, I gotta mute the stream real quick.
You fucking pleb. How are you not prepared, bro?
Sorry, I was playing Call of Duty, gotta get by. Yeah.
No worries, man. How you doing, brother?
Okay, I have quite a few questions, actually.
All right.
I went down like a rabbit hole.
Okay.
So, now that we know that the Titans basically propaganded all of us or brainwashed everyone on Azeroth, thinking that they're the best, does the Old God Whispers have a different meaning now, knowing what we know now and from Shadowlands?
Yes and no. I've gone through some of the whispers, and it seems like some of the whispers were talking about the Shadowlands, but it only seemed so far in as, once the Shadowlands ended, a lot of those whispers that looked as if it was talking about the Shadowlands may actually be speaking of something else. So the fact is, those whispers, I think, is going to be with us for a long time. Because, some of them have already come true, and we know the ones that have already come true, but there's still a ton of whispers that have not played themselves out, that have only presented themselves at moments where we go, oh, that could be it. And then, the story finishing like, oh, okay, never mind. Probably not that. In regards to the whispers from what we know now in Dragonflight, this is where things get really interesting. Because if I am correct in my speculation that Azeroth is indeed the mother of the old gods, or that the old gods are her servants, this would mean that their whispers are warnings to us about the beings of the Great Beyond, and how the Great Beyond's beings should not be trusted at any given point in time. That is possible, right? But again, it really depends. So I don't know if you have a specific take on that, D-Rock, but that's basically where I am now.
I just found it really interesting because, the Il'gynoth Whispers, they're like, oh, accept his gift, the gift of flesh and all that. And people were like, oh, no, you're crazy. You're an old god. I'm not going to listen to you. But now that we know it's like an actual gift and not a curse, per se, that they probably gave us freedom, that what if Ny'alotha is basically not heaven, but like a place in Azeroth where they go back to? Because when you kill Il'gynoth, he says something like, oh, N'Zoth, I go home to Ny'alotha. Like, are they really dead, or do they just go somewhere?
Wait, D-Rock, repeat that question? Sorry, repeat your question? I don't want to get it wrong.
So basically, like, when an old god dies, we technically don't know where they go, right?
Yeah.
But Il'gynoth says when you kill him in Legion, he says, N'Zoth, I come home to Ny'alotha.
Yes.
So, is Ny'alotha a place on Azeroth, or is that a place outside of Azeroth? Because if it's in Azeroth, that means Azeroth basically created this place for them, instead of going like how the Titans, they would go back to the Order, or if you kill a Naru, they go back to the Light.
Yeah. So it's one of two things. So either Azeroth created Ny'alotha for the old gods to exist there, or they anchored themselves to Azeroth in some way, shape, or form. So we shouldn't ever forget that they potentially do have the ability to anchor themselves. So it doesn't have to be Azeroth. Now, this is where we get into the Avaloren, the place that I literally just spoke about. We know that it is filled with heretics. These are heretics keepers, by the way, or heretic keepers that just rejected the claims of the Titans. They refused to accept the Titans as the leaders and as the creators of the universe, and instead they almost wholesale bought into the idea of the Black Empire. We know that the Titans, or the Titan Keepers at least, were at war with these beings for a time. We don't know exactly how long they've been at war with each other, but we know that they were. We also don't know how that war ended. We just know that they, like, the final messages we got from it was a warning that another expedition should not be sent because they cannot bear to lose any more keepers. So clearly these heretics, wherever they are well protected. This, of course, also provides us with a little bit of evidence, or maybe a little bit of insight into why no one has ever been able to sail to the other side of Azeroth. Remember, everyone that has ever tried to sail to the other side of Azeroth has never returned. Ever. So if Avaloren is on the other side of Azeroth, purely because, let's be honest, the Azerothian map is getting a little tight at the minute. I don't think I'm the only one that believes that. Is there space for another fucking island somewhere on that map? I don't want to think about that anymore. Also, if that place was on Azeroth, why would the heretics have waited this long to actually show themselves? So it's far more likely that Avaloren is on the other side of Azeroth, and that the Titans truly did, as I speculated, place a barrier around us and where we live and Avaloren. So when they couldn't defeat the heretics, when they realized that the heretics are just too powerful, they erected this barrier to keep the Avalorian troops or the Avalorian heretics away from their creation, their special place that they have made for themselves. This means that there's an entire side of Azeroth that the Titans and Ny'alotha can be. Not the Titans, the old gods and Ny'alotha can be. That we just don't know about yet because we've never been able to go there. Which may actually be the thing that we do in Dragonflight. One of the things we do might actually be to bring down this barrier. Which might lead us right back to all of the other, like, dragons and the dead things that we're supposed to be so afraid of that Xal'atath mentioned but we've never actually seen. So there is a world in which that is very possible. D-Rock, does that answer your question?
Yeah, yeah, that answers it. But there's one whisper from Il'gynoth where he says, "Her heart is a crater, and we have filled it." So what I was thinking is, what if they like burrow deep down inside of Azeroth, and she's protecting them after they pulled out? What was the really big old god's name?
Y'Shaarj.
Yes, Y'Shaarj.
Yeah.
And like she's basically like covering them in like a barrier or something ever since he got pulled out.
I mean, you're moving closer to what I now believe. Her heart is a crater, and we have filled it. We are her children. We are in her heart. She loves us. We always read it as they forced themselves inside. But it's funny that they mentioned her heart. The heart is synonymous with love. The love that a mother has for her children, perhaps? Her heart is a crater, and we have filled it. No, that wasn't me. That was D-Rock. And it...
That wasn't me. I think that was Morny. I'm not pushed to talk.
Oh, yeah, it might actually be Moni. I think his pooch is losing it. But, yeah.
Yeah, I switched to mute really fast when she did. Sorry about that.
No, it's perfectly fine, bro. But, yeah, so it is possible that, you know, her heart is great and we have filled it. It means that Azeroth has taken them in as her own, as her children. That maybe they themselves have also been changed due to being on Azeroth. So they came to corrupt Azeroth, but indeed Azeroth is the one that corrupted them. I mean, that's a whole new level of strength right there, right?
Yeah, that, and also N'Zoth says some stuff that is like concerning too, because he says, "Receive now the greatest of all gifts. My dream has become your own. The circle of stars are made flesh."
Yeah.
But I looked up everything regarding stars, and if you look at almost every depiction of the Titans, they're like made out of constellations. So if the circle of stars are now made flesh, Does that mean there's a Titan that's also betrayed the Pantheon besides Sargeras?
Jesus, I don't know. It's possible. It's possible that we don't know all the stories of the old gods, right? Turbo, by the way, thanks for the first time chat, dude. Really appreciate that. Yeah, I'm definitely nowhere near the size of Boogie 298. I don't mean in terms of being fat. I mean in terms of viewership, right? But I appreciate it nonetheless. How you doing, bro? I don't know. Jesus, that's actually a good question. And we wouldn't know because Sargeras betrayed the Titans, but it could be that many other Titans also betrayed them because the Keepers do speak of heretics, right? There are other betrayers, and they're the ones who now call Avaloren home. So is it possible that there are more Titan traitors than just Sargeras? Could Sargeras have been the last in a line of traitors, perhaps? I don't think so. I really hope that's not the case, because it makes it very impactful when you have one traitor. Okay? That's very impactful. The second you find out that there's like 8 traitors for the Titans, you kind of start going, well, you know, these guys clearly don't know how to make friends. Sound, by the way, thanks for the follow. Really appreciate that, bro. So yeah, I would be hesitant to go in that direction, but it is possible.
Okay, and I have one more whisper that really stood out to me.
Okay.
He says, "She is not the last, but the first. Drown her, and you will see."
Yes.
So does that refer to as Azeroth being the first Titan and the Pantheon like encaged her? Because if you think about it, Azeroth is just a prison. Everything on there is to either destroy her, keep her asleep, or keep her locked up. Reorigination wipes everything. It's like a delete button, and everything else is a prison.
I think you literally just cracked it. She is not the last, but the first. Originally, the belief has been that Azeroth is the last Titan to awaken. They're waiting for her to wake up. The old gods say she is not the last, but the first. In other words, she didn't wake up last. She woke up first. Or maybe it's even bigger than that. She's not the last Titan to awaken. She is literally the first Titan. She is the beginning. She's the origin of all of this. Which, of course, makes Azeroth a first one, which is something I don't necessarily want. But at the same time, it's not entirely something I would be against. I could see ways in which they could make that story work. So I'd probably be okay with it. For the most part, if they could pull it off right. But anyways, the fact that she would be the first is... Again, it just proves that the fucking Titans locked her up, right? The Titans kept her locked up so that they could do, I don't know what the hell to her. Like, maybe one of those fiddly fucks that used to work at Blizzard was the guy who wrote, the Titans locking her up, and that was just him living his base fantasy. He was like, oh my god, this would be so cool if I could actually lock a girl up and do these things to her. So he just wrote that for World of Warcraft. No, we know what they wanted to do. They wanted her power over life. Because if we're correct, then she's the only one that can actually create true life. Actually, it's not even if we're correct. Azeroth is literally the creator of the dream. It's her dream. So, yeah, 100%. That's an interesting concept, D-Rock.
Yeah, I've got a lot of time after like 3 a.m., so I just go down these rabbit holes.
That's always the funnest part of speculating. So I really appreciate that, D-Rock. Holy shit. That was some interesting stuff. Is there anything else?
I have one more question. So
okay.
I was doing the the new, not the pre-patch, but the last patch of Shadowlands. I forgot what it was. 9.2, I think.
Yeah.
And you have to recreate the Arbiter, right? And in order to create an Arbiter, from what the game showed us, was that you need to create a vessel that's like 3D printed in a Zereth realm and imbue a soul into it.
Yeah.
But what souls are in the current Titans and the current Eternal Ones if they are related? Because if you need to imbue a soul into it, because when we kill the jailer, his soul vanishes and you just see like his 3D robot body, right?
Yeah.
So what souls are in the current Titans, Eternal Ones, even Elune, and what pantheon does Elune belong to?
Alright, so in terms of what souls, that's not really something I know how to answer. Because it could be multiple things. So it could be the souls of the first ones. In other words, the first ones, in order to oversee the universe, sacrificed themselves in the sepulchre and then allowed for their souls to become eternal ones and titans and all the rest of it. The other option is that it is portions of the first one's souls. So the first one sacrificed portions of themselves, and this ultimately became the souls of the constructs that we would know as the Eternal Ones or the Titans. Or it could be something entirely different. It might be that they don't really have souls. That what we see is they call it a soul because, you know, ease of use, but it doesn't function the same as souls as we would know it. I don't know what that answer would be. What's...
Because Pelagos becomes the new Arbiter.
Yeah.
But his soul is from Azeroth itself. Because he was born on Azeroth, he died on Azeroth, and he went through the Shadowlands.
Yeah.
But what I was thinking is, what if all the Titan souls and all the other souls were being born on Azeroth, but their souls were just transferred into the vessels to watch over these things?
That is not entirely impossible. Okay, so in Legion, I had this massive speculation theory, and I'm not going to go through all of it now because that video itself was probably over half an hour long. I'm not going to recap it all, but I'll give you guys a quick breakdown of it. In Legion, I speculated that the Emerald Dream is nothing other than Azeroth's dream. And that the Emerald Dream is where all life is created in the entirety of the Great Beyond. So it's not just that, you know, it's connected to Azeroth. It's connected to reality as you see it in the map, the Chronicles map. It's connected to reality. It spans the breadth and length of the entirety of the Great Beyond, and it creates all life within it. So it is entire. Remember the early stories? Azeroth consumed all of the spirit. Giant Rat Guy, thanks for reminding me of that. Azeroth consumed all of the spirit on Azeroth. What if Azeroth consumed all of that spirit because she needed it for the dream? In order to create the dream, in order to dream reality, in order to dream life, Azeroth needed all of that spirit. And this is all Azeroth is doing. She is constantly dreaming life. The first ones, however, arrived here, decided to sort of subvert this entire system, create their own Zereth realms where they create constructs, and use the souls that is created within the dream to create their own constructs. Constructs that would basically keep Azeroth sleeping, keep Azeroth imprisoned, while they get fed on the Azerite, or not the Azerite, the anima that Azeroth creates. So there is that possibility as well. It's an outlier possibility, but it is a possibility nonetheless.
So if that is true, that means basically every villain we have ever destroyed or killed, their soul was created by Azeroth.
Yeah.
So then Galakrond's soul could still be alive.
I mean, all souls could still be alive, for all we know. Right? There's literally no evidence that anything ever dies. Now, there is a chance that when a soul is so damaged that it just doesn't seem like it's worth trying to recreate a body for that soul, that soul goes into some sort of prison, or perhaps that soul gets grounded down, mixed with other souls, and recreated that way. So it kind of dilutes the evil into a bunch of new souls that then gets born. So instead of having one Galakron, maybe you end up with 20 dragons, or whatever the case may be, right? So there is an outside possibility of something like that happening.
That's interesting. But I have another question. What pantheon does Elune belong to?
Your guess is as good as mine. The fact that she calls the Winter Queen sister would suggest the Pantheon of Death. Because we know that she's been in the Shadowlands before. She was there in the beginning, and then she left. So it's entirely possible that she used to be part of the Pantheon of Death, and then she left in order to take care of Azeroth, in order to ensure that Azeroth would remain imprisoned, or perhaps that Azeroth would remain asleep, or perhaps to maintain balance within this new order of things. Your guess would be as good as mine here. I have no idea.
Yeah, because each of these 3D printed gods, they all belong to some Zereth or pantheon of whatever they are, right?
Yeah.
Like Order for the Titans, Death for the Shadowlands. But Elune, I feel like Elune doesn't fit in any of those.
No.
She's like weird. And also, if you read the stories of the two moons, she said the little moon was birthed out of her love.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking, what if they just 3D printed her a kid? So she's not lonely in the sky.
Or she figured out how to create it within the dream. Because remember, she is the one tinkering with the dream probably more than anyone else.
Oh, that is true, yeah. So she's taking Azeroth's power too.
Yeah, she's probably figuring out how to... I mean, the old gods do refer to her as the upstart goddess. You know, so not yet fully a goddess, but kind of getting there. So there's multiple possibilities here. I genuinely have no idea what the right answer is to this. I have no idea.
All right, fair enough. That's all the questions I had. Thanks, Echo.
Thank you very much for the questions, D-Rock. Really appreciate it, bro. Take care of yourself, man.